make the move, make the action. To everybody, to any person, tomorrow is new. They have to work very hard.
They say that nothing good happens in the 4 a.m. hour. Well, I can guarantee you this. It's 4:45 a.m. It's still dark outside. Look at that. The lights just went out, and I'm getting ready to kill this AM cardio. You can't even see me, but it's going to be so good, it's bad.
The safest way to try and get what you want is to try and deserve what you want. It's such a simple idea. It's the golden rule, so to speak. You want to deliver to the world what you would buy if you were on the other end. There is no ethos, in my opinion, that is better for any lawyer or any other person to have. By and large, the people who had this ethos win in life, and they don't win just money, just honors and emoluments. They win the respect, the deserved trust of the people they deal with. And there is huge pleasure in life to be obtained from getting deserved trust.
If a person is earning, let's say, $25,000 a year, they're not earning 25 because they want 25. They're earning 25 because they are not aware of how to earn 50.
In today's time, it's literally just about you realizing your own potential and being creative within your own potential. This is what I can do, so I need to master this, this, and this.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Isn't that a profound statement? You will notice that it says nothing about the need for education, but simply that whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve.
I think a lot of it comes down to, a lot of people are like, you must be a super tough motherfucker and all this other shit. And I think it comes down more to just like how bad you want it. Like in life, like if you just want something so fucking bad, like I just remembered like when I was doing the 50-meter underwater swim, it was really hard for me. I'd never been able to do it outside of, SEAL training. And the only 2 times I did it was when I like had to do it. And I just remembered, I was just like, well, I'm just going to swim until I fucking reach the wall or black out. Like there just wasn't another option. Like I just wasn't going to quit just because I wanted it so bad.
Because you see, understanding gives us the ability, if we cannot see the positive circumstance on the outside, we can build it on the inside. That's why Napoleon said, circumstance, hell, I make them. George Bernard Shaw said, people are always blaming circumstance for what they are. He said, I don't believe in circumstance. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up, look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. They have the understanding they can do that. And through doing that and getting emotionally involved, they then set up an emotional state that's quite opposite to fear. It's called faith.
I represent hard work, determination, motivation. I think without a doubt, if anything else, by watching me, it's simply an example of hard work pays off.
That's it.
What you put into your craft, you can get out to it if you put 110% into it. And I'm just an example of that.
I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
make enough mistakes. Don't worry. You fall, you stand up. You fall, you stand up. Enjoy it. 25 years old. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
It's so important to know where you are. And I know where I am right now. How do you go from where you are to where you want to be? And I think you have to have an enthusiasm for life. You have to have a dream, a goal, and you have to be willing to work for it.
It's way easier to stay out of trouble than to get out of trouble financially. And I will guarantee you, if you run up big credit card debts, you will be in trouble probably the rest of your life in terms of your financial situation. On the other hand, if you get ahead of the game, even it's on a very modest scale, so that money is coming in from investing, and people owe you money or equities owe you ownership, you'll be way ahead of the game compared to paying it, always paying your creditors every month. So my advice to you is, if you can't pay for it, don't buy it, and get yourself in a position where you can pay for anything.
You might never fail on the scale I did, but some failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default.
Life is not a sprint. Life is a marathon, guys. It's all about patience. A wise man once said this: it's not all about doing good. Everybody does good. It's not about doing good. It's how long you can do good.
Nobody can guarantee we'll be successful, right? So I think the only thing that can guarantee our success is keep the passion, keep believing the future, keep on investing in the young people, and keep on the mission that helping others doing success. If we keep on that, we have the chance to be successful. If we think, well, we are rich enough, let's enjoy the life, and that will never work, right? And now we're getting more competitors. All the guys, entrepreneurs, if you do business, you will always have competition. Don't worry about the competition, because your competitors also worry about you.
I think that you have to take risks all the time. If you don't do that, you don't move forward. We are trying to be too conservative in the way that you think life. And the result is that nobody voices out to say, I don't agree with this, I agree with that. So we have to push somehow our individuality to make sure that our voice can be heard.
It is crucial to have multiple interests and skill sets, to have tried and possibly failed at many different undertakings. The young people that we hire today at Condé Nast are fearless polymaths, hardworking and passionate, creative and curious.
Life will have terrible blows in it, horrible blows, unfair blows. Doesn't matter. And some people recover and others don't. And There, I think the attitude of Epictetus is the best. He thought that every mischance in life was an opportunity to behave well. Every mischance in life was an opportunity to learn something. And that your duty was not to be submerged in self-pity, but to utilize the terrible blow in a constructive fashion.
The difference between those people and other people, they are always optimistic for the future. They never complain. They always try to solve the problems of the others. And I think, where is the opportunity? The opportunity always lies in the place where people complain. Some people sit there complain, you think, if I can solve that complaint, that's the opportunity. That's what I did.
Your best financial future is your own ability and your capacity to use those abilities to their potential. And that can't be taken away from you. They can't even tax it. I mean, most things. If you own a piece of real estate, if they double the taxes, they double the taxes, and that changes your ownership in the property, because now, in effect, the taxing authorities own more of it because they've got a greater command on the revenue stream. The same thing about almost any asset you have, but they don't tax what's in your head, and they don't tax your ability to start performing when you get to work in the morning and finish in the evening. To your potential. One of the things that amazes me is how people who really do perform well just sort of jump out at you once you're running a business. When I got out of school, I thought, everybody would behave that way, but they don't. Most people sort of go through life in a sleepwalk, and if you don't, you will stand out. So the biggest thing for your financial future is yourself. Now, beyond that, it is always being ahead of the game rather than getting behind the game. It's saving a little, no matter how you do it. I mean, I delivered papers, I worked at Penny's, I sold golf balls, I had a pinball machine around. I did a lot of things that enabled me to accumulate about $10,000 by the time I got out of school. 10,000 doesn't go as far now as it did then, but having anything so that you're ahead of the game and not getting behind the game is enormously important. I mean, just, if you're going to run a 100-yard dash against a bunch of people in life, if you can figure it out so that when the gun goes off, you're 10 or 15 yards ahead instead of 10 or 15 yards behind, it's going to make an enormous difference in how that race comes out. So having some net resources doesn't make much difference whether they're in stocks or bonds, in my view, but and not having debt when that gun goes off when you get out of school is a huge plus over being behind the game. And it may come from delivering a paper out in the morning, it may come from part-time work someplace, but put aside a few dollars for yourself so that when the time comes and you enter the workforce, you're ahead of the game and not behind. And then once you get there, don't get behind by buying a whole lot of things that you figure you're going to pay for someday while you're paying 20% interest in between.
I think, honestly, being true to yourself is the absolute key to being successful in this kind of a model, because you can't fake authenticity, you can't fake loving something, and honestly, I think any artistic form or medium, you have to work so hard to get your stuff heard or seen. And so if you don't absolutely love it, you will burn yourself out. And the only way I'm able to do what I do is, I'm almost a workaholic because I love what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, because I'm enjoying it, because I love the people that I work with, it doubles as work and recreation. And if I didn't love it, it would be impossible.
Our system is to swim as competently as we can, and sometimes the tide will be with us and sometimes it will be against us. But by and large, we don't much bother with trying to predict the tides because we plan to play the game for a long time. I recommend to all of you exactly the same attitude. It's kind of a snare and a delusion to outguess macroeconomic cycles. Very few people do it successfully, and some of them do it by accident. When the game is that tough, why not adopt the other system of swimming as competently as you can and figuring that over a long life you'll have your share of good tides and bad tides.
If you're a young person like I used to be, and you're at home watching and you're being called weird, or you're being called different, or whatever the hell you're being called, I'm here tonight to tell you, your critics do not count. Their words will fade. You won't. Stay foolish, stay hungry, dream, work hard, and who knows, maybe someday you'll find yourself standing on a stage, and maybe someday somebody will be giving you an award, calling you an innovator.
I think clarity is the one of the most important leadership qualities that one can have. I think it's really important to be very specific and very clear in what you expect, and then to delegate. People respond much better when they're in a more independent environment and you're not completely breathing down their neck all the time. The other thing I think is incredibly important is to hire divas like Andre Leon Talley, who will disagree with you and contradict you and not yes you all the time. And not to be scared of having people working with you that have different opinions.
Part of life is getting prepared so that when something does happen that's significant, you can grasp the significance of it and know what to do with it. And I would say that first 8 years of fooling around, even though it produced nothing financially to speak of, produced a lot in terms of getting my mind prepared for when I really did read something that made sense. So I was ready to accept it.
When I was a teenager, I read some words that I found extremely powerful that I've been carrying with me ever since. And those words were from our 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt. So just indulge me for a second. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does always actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Just say to yourself every day, it's possible. Just say that every day to yourself, it's possible. Because what does that do? See, it begins to change your belief system. See, the way in which we operate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a manifestation of what we believe, what's possible for us. Whatever you've done up to this point, all that it really is a duplication, it's a reproduction of what you believe subconsciously that you deserve and what's possible for your life. Before April 1954, the common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. But here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Bannister came along, and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Now here's what's significant about that. Since that time, up to this day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. What changed? 20,000 people, what changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier, about this goal that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in a race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible, that they could do it. And I'm saying that if you know anybody that had some goal, some dream, something they wanted to do, and they did it, then I'm saying that you know in your heart that if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, that it's possible that you can make your dream become reality.
You must fail 100 times to succeed once. That's part of it. No one succeeds the first time. It's learning how to not get disappointed with failure, to understand failure. You only learn when you fail. You don't learn when you succeed.
When you have a dream, and the dream isn't something you dream and then it happens, the dream is something you never knew was going to come into your life. Dreams always come from behind you, not right between your eyes. It sneaks up on you. But when you have a dream, it doesn't often come at you screaming in your face, this is who you are, this is what you must be for the rest of your life. Sometimes a dream almost whispers. And I've always said to my kids, the hardest thing to listen to, your instincts, your human personal intuition, always whispers, it never shouts. Very hard to hear. So you have to, every day of your lives, be ready to hear what whispers in your ear. It very rarely shouts. And if you can listen to the whisper, and if it tickles your heart, and it's something you think you want to do for the rest of your life, then that is going to be what you do for the rest of your life, and we will benefit from everything you do.
You should seek failures. See, if you're playing it safe, you're not going to win. If you're playing it safe, like that old saying, you know, you were taught when you're a little girl, better to be safe than sorry. Well, that's a bunch of crap. It's not better to be safe than sorry. It's by trying things that you figure out how far you can go. You got to get outside the box. Like it's reported, Edison tried 3,000 ways before he built the incandescent light. He said he didn't fail 3,000 times. He said there was 3,000 different steps to building a light bulb. Well, there's different steps to get to where you're going. And I really do treat winning and losing exactly the same. I do not let it upset me. that it's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to happen. A lot of things are going to happen that will catch you off guard. And so therefore you've got to deal with and handle it as it comes. And not only that, but that faith and patience drives you into action. You've got to keep moving and keep plugging away. In the Far East, they have something that's called the Chinese bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow. And when they go through a process of growing it, they have to water and fertilize the ground where it is every day. And it doesn't break through the ground until the 5th year. Okay? But once it breaks through the ground, within 5 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. Now the question is, does it grow 90 feet tall in 5 weeks or 5 years? The answer is obvious. It grows 90 feet tall in 5 years. Because at any time, had that person stopped watering and nurturing and fertilizing that dream, that bamboo tree would have died in the ground. How long have you been working on your dream? It's good. And you have nothing to show. This is all you got to show. People are going to do that to you. And some people, ladies and gentlemen, they stop because they don't see instant results. It doesn't happen quickly.
Go to the experts for advice. Don't ask the person next door, your mother, father, brother, or the guy that works beside you, because they don't necessarily know. There's no point in asking a person how to earn a lot of money if they're only earning $10,000 a year. They don't know. If they knew, they'd probably be earning a lot. It's like, don't go to a sick doctor if you want to get healthy.
Okay.
So you find someone that you can go to for advice. Get a real good book and lock into that book and start to study it.
I've said for years that you have to celebrate your victories and really celebrate your mistakes. And what I mean by that is that you have to learn from the mistakes that you make, and you've got to create an environment where people are not afraid to take a risk and not afraid to do things that are beyond what the expectations are. At the same time, you've got to set up a framework for how those things are managed and judged and evaluated.
The only way to really learn it is to do it. And you have to become expert. And there are talks about, what is an expert? Well, an expert is someone who dedicates 10,000 hours to their craft. Okay? That's a lot of time. Not over 20 years, but in as compressed a period of time as possible. The advantage of going to these investment banks is in a heady environment, that happens, in 100-hour work weeks. Right? Mm-hmm. And while all your friends who you graduate college with are going out on Friday night and Saturday night, guess what? You're working. And on Saturday, you're working, and on you are working. Mm-hmm. But that's how you build, that fabric, and to be an expert at your craft. You cannot do this business well if you are not an expert at your craft.
When we have had failures, those have ultimately resulted in some of the greatest successes we've ever had. You talk about those, particularly when someone comes to see you and they say, yeah, feeling really bad because this didn't work out. Okay, well, let me tell you about some other things that didn't work out that we learned a lot from, and let's pick ourselves back up and let's figure out what we learned from this and how we go apply that next time. When you're in the zone of doing things that no one's ever done before, if you're only succeeding, you're not taking enough risk.
One of the things I learned was ask the impossible and really dream big. What you learn about people is if you paint a very broad vision, you attract people who really want to make it happen. because they're dreamers too. So you can inspire people, and with that inspiration, you get the smartest people, and they deal with a lot of stuff.
I believe desire and will to win is everything. I don't know why I'm like I am, but my butt's always burning. There's always something say, Art, dadgummit, you're supposed to go for it. Art, dadgummit, you're supposed to be somebody. You're supposed to make a difference with your life. What does the $500,000 a year person do? The $50,000 a year person doesn't do. You look at the outside and study those two individuals, everything seems to be the same. They both are the same sex, they both are the same age, they have the same training, the same positions, the same contract, the same fringe benefits. They both are successful, they work hard, they're good family people, make tough commitments. But what's the difference? What does the $500,000 a year person do? The $50,000 a year person doesn't do. He pays the price and a little bit more. He works hard and a little bit more. He's loyal to the company and a little bit more. He believes in a little bit more. He makes money and a little bit more. He saves money and a little bit more. If you want to win in these United States, you got to be tough and you can't quit. The last thing I'll talk to you about today in building this winning edge is, folks, if you want to win in business, you got to be a leader. Leadership is everything. You show me anything in these United States that win, I'll show you a leader at work. You show me a successful church, Boy Scout troop, club, football team, business, I'll show you something run by a leader. See, I thought at one time in my life you had to be smart to win. I used to have these smart people that dress so pretty and talk so pretty and use these big words. They just intimidated me, and I said, Art, you can't ever be that good. Why don't you just throw in the towel and go on back and coach football for a living? And I found two things out about smart people. I think it's almost impossible for a smart person to win in business in America today. Because I find smart people spend their whole lifetime figuring things out. They always trying to figure out an easier way and a quicker way. And another thing I found out about smart people is they just don't get around to doing nothing. And see, somebody like Art Williams, everybody says, well, he can't do it. And somebody like that can't do it, but he does it. See, folks, I want you to know almost everybody in America almost does enough to win. They almost get there. They almost are over the hump. They almost have it going. They almost, in everything they do, almost is a way of life to almost everybody in America. But the winners do it. What do? They do whatever it takes to get the job done. They do it and do it and do it and do it and do it until the job gets done. And then they talk about how great it is to be somebody they're proud of. We need leaders in America who can do it. If you want to become somebody, do it. If you want to go in business for yourself, do it. If you want to become financially independent, do it. I hear too much talk in these United States. Everybody can talk a good game. We need people in America who can do it. I go all over this country with A.L. Williams, and I have people say, Art, you can count on me. Wonderful, just do it. Art, I guarantee you this is my last stop. I'm gonna win now. Super duper, just do it. Art, if I could just have one good month and get the ball going, I know I could make it big. Super, just do it. Art, if I could just pay off this debt, I could really go. Great, just do it. Art, if I could just sell my house, do it. But houses ain't selling. Do it anyway. Art, I'm not making any money. What can I do? You just do it. Do what, Art? You do it and do it and do it. Art, I guarantee I'm gonna win this contest. Super duper, just do it. Art, I'm over the hump now. Watch my smoke. Great, just do it. Art, I want to make it so bad I can taste it. What I do? You just do it. Art, I'm a vice president now. Can I quit doing it? Nope. Art, I don't know if I can keep on keeping on. I'm really hurting. What I do? You just do it. Do what, Art? You do it and do it and do it. Art, all my life I wanted to be somebody important. Well, what do it then? Art, I'm gonna save money so I don't have to go through this again. Great, just do it. Art, I don't feel like I've had enough training. What I do? You just do it. Art, my manager don't give me no help. What I do? You just do it. Oh, Art, you don't understand. I was Mr. Everything at my former company. You don't mean I have to start off down at the bottom and do it, do you? Yep, you really got to do it. Art, what's the primary difference between winners and losers? The winners do it. They do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, until the job gets done. And then they talk about how great it is to finally have achieved something unique, and how glad they are that they didn't quit like everybody else, and how wonderful it is to finally be somebody they're proud of and make a difference with their life.
When you look at the accomplishments of accomplished people, and you say, boy, that must have been really hard. You know, when you look at something that looks hard, that was probably easy. And conversely, when you look at something that looks easy, that was probably hard. And so you're never going to know which is which until you actually go and do it. So just go and do it, try, learn from it. You'll fail at some things. That's a learning experience that you need so that you can take that on to the next experience. And don't let people who you may respect and who you believe know what they're talking about, don't let them tell you it can't be done. Because often they will tell you it can't be done, and it's just because they don't have the courage to try it.
You want to raise the bar on yourself. Most people won't do that. See, most people engage in low-life living, low-risk living. Viscott said if you're not willing to risk, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. And if you cannot become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? I like what Helen Keller said. Life is short and unpredictable. Eat the dessert first. And so you want to begin to take some chances. You want to begin to challenge yourself and make it okay to fail and learn from your failures. Don't allow fear of failure and the allure, the attractiveness of playing it safe in life to draw you in. You can't get out of life alive. You got to die to leave here.
Work very, very, very hard to figure out what the world's going to look like in 5 years. What will people be doing? What will your customers want? Where will costs will be? In our case, what will networks look like? How important will phones be? What will the apps look like? What services? And spend an awful lot of time on that. And then take a look at your offerings. What are the strongest ones? Which are the ones that are going to iterate quickly? You're probably going to do fine there. You understand those businesses. What about these others? If you think about in the media business, there are media businesses that are growing very well and others that are in great trouble. This was completely predicted 5 years ago, right? So the leaders in the ones that are in trouble should have, right, done a 5-year plan and said, holy cow, what are we going to do? What are the things we can do? Or maybe we sell ourselves or we try something different. But almost all of these strategic shifts are predictable using my 5-year model.
You know, if at some point in your life, you know, you have to work with people where you feel a bit insecure, right? That's essential because that means you're working with people who are better than you and who are pushing you, right? And so I always encourage, if you actually feel very secure in what you do, you know, that means you're doing something comfortable and you're not pushing yourself. And so there are many, many times I've felt working with people in a group, am I doing enough? These people seem much better than me, and I think that's an inherent part of learning.
There's no point in us going into something unless we can really shake up an industry, make a major difference, unless it's going to, you know, enhance the Virgin brand. If there's any danger of it damaging the brand in any way, even if it's going to make us a lot of money, you know, cigarette companies or something like that, we wouldn't do it. And you know, because life's short, you know, we want to enjoy the experience. So, I mean, we're not, you know, very rarely have I actually sat down and thought, you know, can we make a lot of money by going into this industry?
Anything you do, nothing happens overnight, man. It seems that way, but it's all hard work. I have been on planes, trains, and automobiles for the last 13 years, out selling the sport, getting deals done, getting doors slammed on my face. You name it, it's all happened.
Right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way. It's like it's water. It wants to move and go around stuff, you know. So for me, I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. I just believe that. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. If I can put my head on it right, study it, learn the patterns, and you know, it's hard to put into words, some real metaphysical, esoteric nonsense, but I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be.
Spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
Take full responsibility for your life. Accept where you are and the responsibility that you're going to take yourself where you want to go. Someone said we have two primary choices in life. We can either accept conditions as they exist, or we can take the responsibility to change them. See, a lot of people want to exempt themselves from taking responsibility. All they want to do is talk about the problem. Every time you see them, they'll tell you their story over and over and over and over again. No. You want to take responsibility for your life. I got me here, I can get me out of this. And I'm getting out. I'm not going to be a volunteer victim.
Don't be afraid to fail. Because if you're afraid to fail, then you're always holding yourself back because you're afraid that if you go all out, you may fail. Well, in weightlifting, we learned it very quickly. The only way you could break a record is if you're willing to fail. That's when you put on more weight, you try it, sometimes you would not be able to lift it, which has happened to me many times, but eventually, when you train hard enough, you will lift it. So don't be afraid to fail. I mean, how far can you fall?
You have to have the talent to be able to make something that people want. But then you also have to have the drive and the desire to, sometimes people are successful because maybe they don't have that drive, but they have someone around them who takes their raw talent and pushes them. But what you often see is when that other person steps away, their career can collapse, even though their talent may be immense.
I take it year by year. And that's what I try to tell kids. Don't move to next year too fast. Just like don't go to tomorrow too fast. Deal with today. Deal with right now. Let your years take care of your years, but go year by year, go day by day, go hour by hour, go minute by minute.
And I mean, personally, I always try to listen because maybe I'm not getting something. I always try and take everybody's, because it's important to listen to everyone, as many people as you can, and get their input. But then finally, you have to make your own decision about what you're going to do, and that's it. That's what you feel, and that's it. And that's the most important thing. I think the most important thing, because that's where the uniqueness comes in, because it's you. You've done it. It's your thing. It's not anybody else's. It's your choice.
I don't wish to alienate people here about what I'm about to say, but your destiny is in your hands. I succeeded because I had to. No one sorted anything out for me. I didn't ask to go to any government and said, pretty please, find me some work, please, and do something for me, because it was a waste of bloody time. Simply that, a waste of time. And if I was going to do something, I had to do it myself. That's it. And I would say to every one of you here, don't sit around relying upon magically some government going to create an environment that's going to make it easy for you to find work and find jobs. You've got to go out there and fight for it yourself. I'm sorry to say I can't give you any other form of advice. If you want something bad enough, you do it. And if you look at some of these wannabes that make themselves television stars or and pop stars and all that type of stuff, they have a desire to want to be famous, and they don't stop until they're recognized, and they do. And half the people that you see on television these days in the entertainment industry are those that had a determination that wanted to do it. You're going to control your destiny. I'm telling you, no one else is going to do it.
What I found out in life, as life goes on, life is about losing. As we get older, we lose our hair, we lose our teeth, we lose our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, and but it's the ones who overcome, they're lost in life and could shun away adversity and always willing to fight it. Every particular moment in life are the ones that are able to transcend and be able to spread the word to other people who's in that same particular genre as they are.
set out these goals, and then you have long-term goals, and then you have short-term goals, and somewhere within, you find your hobbies, and then you find the things that you are interested in, which are two separate things, because what your hobbies are, what you naturally and readily go to, and what you're interested in are the things that you don't mind studying a little more and researching a little more than you would anything else. And somewhere at the 50-yard line is what you should be doing with your life. I was lucky enough to stumble across that. I look at every opportunity as something that cements the next block in your sidewalk. And it's just important to, don't look over your shoulder every 5 minutes. If anything, just continue to stand on your tippy toes to see how far you can see and what's in the horizon.
The only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill, right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked,
right?
Period. You might have more talent than me, you might be smarter than me, you might be sexier than me, you might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right? There's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm gonna die. It's really that simple. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is gonna be the guy that just gets that loose ball. He got that. He got 2. He hustled, he grabbed that one. That was going to be out of bounds, but he saved it back in. It's like the commodity that I see the majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
I say if you have a passion for business, you also better have a knowledge for it. And so if people want to own a business, they better have worked for somebody else for a while, and they better have an intrinsic knowledge of that industry. And so it would be like me getting into, the barber business and I never went to learn how to cut hair. I should have a knowledge. If I don't have the knowledge, then I better have a partner, or I better have a manager or a leader in place who's vested in the business, who does have a knowledge. And so 3 guys want to open up a restaurant because they think it's cool to open up a restaurant, but none of them know how to cook or wait tables. They shouldn't be in that business.
Our intention is everything. Nothing happens on this planet without it. Not one single thing has ever been accomplished without intention.
I go at business as hard as I went at the game. I study businesses and I study people as much as I studied people trying to figure out plays, So it's kind of something I told the kids yesterday, when you see transition really start to happen, when you really want to transition into something, master it. There's no limits. Don't let the world ever put limits on you. You can do anything you want to do, but make sure if you have a vision, make sure the vision is written. Make sure you have something to actually chase and not just hoping and wishing and all these different things. So I tell guys this all the time, put your plan together and then work the plan. Don't work somebody else's plan. You have to create your own brand yourself. And your brand is whatever you feel like doing, whatever your heart is passionate about. chase it.
Essentially, and I would say this to anybody, is that, you know, it's really, it's easy to embrace hopelessness when things seem insurmountable. And yet, it's actually just a matter of time until all of the elements come together for things to be all right. I mean, I believe that, you know, most difficult situations will resolve themselves if you are persistent and if you don't give up entirely. And that's what I never did. I never gave up.
We didn't grow up with the sense that where we were was where we were going to be. You know, we grew up with the sense that where we were almost didn't matter because we were becoming something greater.
I love to win. And people that love to win, they're going to be successful. But it's okay losing sometimes. You might not win all the time, because you always say tomorrow. I lost today, but tomorrow I'm going to make up for it. So be prepared to take losses in business. Be an entrepreneur. So that's the thing about it. But that one win, take away all the pain if you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business and you run your business.
You've got to decide that the behavior pattern that you have adopted doesn't work for you. You've got to change your strategies, and changing your strategy means reinventing your life. Recreating you, and you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. You have the power to make that decision. You can decide I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here.
You have to be what you're going to be. You have to fulfill your destiny. For whatever reason, this is just the way I am. I jump up and I start doing these things, and I like building things. And as a kid, I liked building things. And what I'm building now is a brand. It's a, but it is still building, and it is a compulsion. I cannot help it. It is what I do. And I've realized over time that it's also what makes me happy. That if I can't do it, I don't feel fulfilled. So it's a compulsion.
You will only ever have two choices, love or fear. Choose love, and don't ever let fear turn you against your playful heart.
First-time entrepreneurs tend to miscalculate is everything. What I mean by that is optimism has a place, but I think even more so for the first-time entrepreneur, you need to be pragmatically pessimistic. What I mean by that is you need to define all of the worst-case scenarios in terms of financial loss, time loss, etc. Look at what you will learn if that happens and accept and come to terms with that before you ever start. If you don't do that and you go straight into battling the world, trying to conquer the world with rose-colored glasses on, the first time you hit a major hiccup, you're going to become really demoralized and you will quit.
Think big, because then you're going to get big. then you're going to go and achieve big things. That is the most important thing. We don't achieve big things by accident. So shoot for the top, shoot for the sky, shoot for the, for the stars.
I think great entrepreneurs must have the curiosity to kind of metaphorically see around the corner. What's coming? What can I anticipate that other people don't see? And then you must have the courage of your convictions to execute the strategy.
And so it's about this movement forward, not what you own, not your education or your pedigree, not a pile of resources you might have at hand, not your network, just going after this thing and knowing that as you do that, you'll find what you need, you'll make your way over, around, and through. And I think the best entrepreneurs that I've met are able to do that because they have this strong vision and they know that it's worth it to keep moving forward.
Larger, more established entities can't move as quickly as you can. And success and scale and size all fight against this. And I would encourage you for the longest possible time as you sort of start your own companies to look for ways to stay agile.
Don't necessarily think that you have to have the home run and the huge Apple computer on your first start. I spent a long time in my life with skills just building little devices for fun. For fun is one of the key things, because that drives you to think and think and think and make it better and better and better than you ever would if you're doing it for a company. Build things at first for yourself that you would want.
Every single artist goes through that. And I think a lot of times you think that the great writers are the people, they just write hit after hit after hit, and they do, but it's also because they get through all the terrible songs first. And I mean, I think that's kind of every single artist's story. And I mean, I love to tell when people ask, what's your best advice for, an upcoming musician or anybody, I think it's that you have to be able to rise from the failures is what makes a successful person, because everybody's going to have mishaps. They're going to fall down. And it's, the people that continuously pick themselves up that are the ones that are going to find their voice, make it, whatever you want to call it.
When it comes to changing the world, what I learned from Steve Jobs is, if you believe in a Macintosh, if you believe in iPhone, iPod, iPad, if you believe enough, then you will see it. Because other people will believe in it. Other people will create software. Other people will create products. So you need to foster the belief in what you are dreaming so that it becomes a reality, which is very different than saying, I don't expect anybody to believe it until I see it. You need people to believe it before they can see it.
One of the things that I do is I question a lot of things. And you can do that in a good way and a bad way, but hopefully if you try to get people to motivate why they're doing something and their way of thinking, the worst thing you can end up with is a situation where you get told, well, this is the way it's always been. That's the worst ever. That's a non-answer. Instead, ask yourself, given everything we have today, is there a way we can make this better?
Don't think about how do I get big fast. That will happen if you actually build something super meaningful and super important. So don't think about, what is the quickest way to success? Think about what is the best way to building something important that the world really needs.
This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist?
So when we see a kid with a lemonade stand, it's different than when we see a vending machine selling lemonade, even if it's exactly the same product, because the story around it is what people are paying for. So when I meet small business people, all I ask them is not what's their balance sheet, but what's their story. Why should I pick you? Why do I care about what you're doing? And if you start giving me all this inside baseball statistics about why you're 2% better than some other competitor, I'm already glazed over, because that's not part of the way I see the world.
I have to want this to exist in the world. I have to not, so it's a similar rule, just say, if this was successful and I had nothing and I was not involved and I got no money off it or would I want it to do well? And that's a great check, I think, to know if you really feel good about the idea and can be passionate about it.
One of the things I advise entrepreneurs to do is when you have an idea, a classic entrepreneurial impulse is to hold the idea close to you and not go tell people because, oh, the idea is so special.
Right.
That's almost always a mistake. Your actual real competitive advantage is not that you have this idea that you have locked away in your closet, which may or may not be accurate and you have no idea which it is. Your actual competitive advantage is if you're assembling the intelligence around, does this idea work? What is the right teams? What is the right learnings? And we're essentially in motion.
I feel so strongly that the reason I'm here is I dreamed big dreams. I dreamed the kind of dreams that other people said would not be possible. I'm also living proof. This isn't a Hollywood movie. I come literally from the other side of the tracks. If you saw where I grew up and we took a picture of it, the neighborhood, the setting, you'd say it's impossible that someone could come from there and get here. But it is possible. And not to sound too trite, it's possible because we still live in a country where the entrepreneurial spirit is so alive and so well. And anyone in this country, if you dream big and surround yourself with great people and leave your ego at the door and share success with others and have a little luck along the way, you can do anything. But there will be people along the way, and I remember this, who will say to you, you know, you're dreaming too big. It's not possible. Those things just can't happen. Don't allow anyone, friend, family, acquaintance, teachers, whoever it is, don't allow anyone to tell you that what you are dreaming for yourself and your family is not possible. It is possible. Don't be one of those people 20 years from now are going to be walking around in a 9-to-5 job, miserable and angry and bitter because you let your dreams get away from you because you did not believe strongly enough in yourself and what was possible. Don't allow that to happen. This is an unbelievable time. And I can't encourage you enough to continue to think that things are possible and that your dreams can come true.
I think people that look for great ideas to make money, aren't nearly as successful as those who say, okay, what do I really love to do? What am I excited about? What do I know something about? What's kind of interesting and compelling?
If you know exactly what you want to be, you need to spend as much time with people that are actually that already.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up.
Is life about how much you've done with technology, how much you've achieved, how much money you made in your life? Or is life about how many times you laughed compared to smiled? I would rather have a happier life. And sure, if getting success in business is what makes me happy, that's fine. But I really believe that, some kind of enjoyment aspect should go through, especially all learning and all work. Now, I was an engineer. The work is hard, it's intense. You work late hours at night sometimes trying to solve a problem, and it's so hard to get there, and you finally crack through, and it's sort of a relief. But you know what? When you're working that hard all day long, you need those little jokes with your friends. You need the lunchtime where you sit down and chat. Is such a big part of your life.
I think my biggest tip is just get started. I meet a lot of young entrepreneurs who have good ideas or bad ideas or some ideas, and you don't want to be a person who just talks and talks and talks. You have to actually go and do something. And don't worry about if it's the perfect thing or not. There is this myth of entrepreneurship that you'll have the one genius idea and suddenly everything falls into place. It doesn't work like that. It's a hard slog. There's a lot of things to do wrong, a lot of things you'll do right. The sooner you get started, the sooner you'll get somewhere.
It's very rewarding when you work on something you think is going to make a big difference. And yeah, it's a little bit harder, but I think the passion that one might bring with it brings so much more energy to that you're more likely to succeed.
One of the things that I tell people when they ask me for advice about what they should do when they're wanting to start their own business or take a next step in their career is to actually start small. I think a lot of people try to, they kind of psych themselves out, or they get too overwhelmed with how big something can get. But the truth is, you really just got to start small, and you got to prove it before you scale it.
Try to do something that you would want to do anyway, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be a very successful business, because when you do decide to become an entrepreneur and start a business, chances are it's not gonna become like a multi-million-dollar business. So at least do something that you love in the beginning, so that even if it fails, you'd still enjoy it.
Well, let me tell you why they're afraid. Some people can see farther than others. Some people are impressed with limitations. We all live in our own world of limitations. Some people can see farther than others. So therefore, when people judge what I'm doing with their logic, it can't be done. Their reasoning says it can't or shouldn't be done. Their knowledge of history says it can't be done. So their reasoning, their knowledge, and their logic clashes with my superior belief. Therefore, the result is they don't believe.
If you don't love it, you won't make it through the long period of pain that is inevitable. So make sure that you take care of yourself during the process. Make sure that you take care of your mental health, your physical health while you're doing it, because it's a long road.
Even today, I look at the old films, look at myself. Sometimes really smile. I'm glad. Even I know I get hurt, I broke my ankle, I'm so happy I did it. You might get hurt, or you're learning a piano, you're learning a martial art. Learn whatever you can. Those years, like me, I just do. 10 years later, now, forever, the things you learn, or the success I have, forever. Don't regret one day, do it when you were young.
My personal legend was always to be a writer, and finding your personal legend does not mean fulfilling your personal legend, because being a writer means writing books. I cannot just sit and say, okay, I'm a writer. So you write your first book, it may or not be successful, then there's the next one, there is a third one, and all of a sudden you realize that your books are doing very well. And you fear success. You have this moment that you think, oh my God, should I write the next book? Do I need to be judged again by the critics, etc.? And then you realize that your personal legend is about moving on. Go, if you had a dream of becoming a writer, write books. Don't be paralyzed by either success or failure. So I'm in the process, I'm on the journey of my personal legend, not to fulfill it, but to live it as full, as intensely as I can. I fought like
nowadays, if you want to commit to something and do something positively, you have to commit yourself. You have to schedule it in your life and build your lifestyle around it. And looking back, that created a huge opportunity for me to be as great as I was and be able to be competitive at the highest level. And not only that, but build a brand, which anyone watching these YouTube videos, working on their own channels or now climbing that ladder of being socially aware of what's going on, it's crazy. I mean, I've built such a crazy platform, and you know what? The funny part is I was just being me. And that's the most important thing. You just be yourself. And I keep preaching that over and over, is you can't copy this guy or that guy. You just have to find a direction that works for you. And I can't stress it enough, but you have to be dedicated and you have to stay committed to it.
We know the only thing I tell you guys, for the first 3 years, we did not have even $1 revenue from our business. But why it keeps going ahead, going forward? Because I received lots of email of thanks from the customer. They say, this is such a great thing. If you can keep on doing that, we cannot pay you, but this thing helped us. If you keep on helping us, one day you will be successful, and I believe this.
I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
do everything you can to survive and not to give up. As long as you tried everything you can, then if you fail, you'll sleep okay, and you'll pick yourself up, and you'll learn. When things are better, you'll learn from your mistakes and you'll start again. If on the other hand you give up, you give up too readily, you'll forever kick yourself.
Think of the amount of time that is wasted on negative energy, wondering what other people think of you. What they think of you really doesn't make any difference. It's what you think of you that makes a difference. So as you go through the day, don't worry about what other people think of you.
Dedicate a certain amount of time to the business. 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, 50 hours a week. No matter what, it starts to compound after the year 1, after the year 2, after year 3. If you dedicated 2 hours a week to, this new hobby or love or, business, at the end of the year, it's over 100 hours put in. Don't be in a rush. First of all, learn all the mistakes early. And then have some kind of strategy. Know that this is where you want to be after year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you have to really be honest with yourself.
And anybody who's coming in with plans based on the earlier architectures, you're not going to make it. You need to be on scalable plans that solve real problems. It's so easy to solve a local problem. You need to dream bigger. Over and over again, we hear ideas that are interesting in a local context, but they're not big enough. So dream bigger, right? As a general statement about society, we need to ask the harder questions, and we need to ask for stronger solutions. There is a global emerging consensus around issues and so forth. Together, we're very strong.
In this world, and the importance of actually, going through the process of understanding what the problem is and then figuring it out yourself. And every now and then you need some help, that's fine. But if you get too much help, you never figure out how to do things, and you don't develop the grit. And some of the older folks in this audience are shaking their heads. Yeah, you got to have grit. And grit means getting turned away from things 14, 15 times, calling someone every 2 weeks, every day for 5 months, and then finally it materializing in something that you want. And discovering the joy of figuring things out means, fight through those problems, understand and learn how you address those problems, and come up with the answers to those problems in a solution that is uniquely yours. That's an important part of growing up and solving problems, because if you can't solve easy problems now, you will not be able to solve difficult problems later.
Most people are living in poverty. Most people are living far below their potential, not because they don't have the capacity, not because they have not been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, but most people are living like they're living because of the fact that they don't believe they can have any more than what they now have.
You see, the difference between a school teacher and an entrepreneur. In school, they punish you for making mistakes. Entrepreneurs know you're not going to learn anything unless you make a mistake. So I've made so many mistakes. Last year I made a lot of mistakes. But each mistake I make, I get smarter. It's like standing up and falling down, standing up and falling down.